In this video, I will show you how we can start using components or widget from Sitecore Discover into our website. For that, I'm going to create some widgets, apply some recipes and rules, and then use those on our Vue.js store demo site. So first thing to do is to log in into the customer engagement console, and then we navigate to the widget section, and we start creating our widgets. So we click on the Add Widget button, and then we have different options. I mean, you need to choose a widget type. I will start by creating my recommendations widget. So first thing is to give it a name. I'll call it my Vue recommendations. I will give it an ID. I will give a default variation name. And I would like to use it in a page because you can also choose a dialog or make it available for all pages across the site. So when this is okay, I click next. Okay, this is already in use. Let me choose a different one. That's okay. So the next step is to choose a recipe. And here you will see that there's a lot of different options. For example, to retrieve products that are textually similar to the product, or top order products in a store, and a bunch more there. And you can also create your own. But for this example, I will be using personalized results based on the user history. Let me search for it. And yeah, this is the one I would like to choose. So basically, personalize products for the user. This recipe uses an input the visitor history of interactions with your products, past views, add to carts, and orders, to generate product recommendations for each visitor that are most similar to those for which we have expressed prior interest. If the visitor doesn't have any history, then he will fall back to the top Vue products. So yeah, I'm happy with this one. We don't care about styling here because we are not implementing the dynamic widget. So now we are done. We can save. And we have just created our first widget. Then we can also create rules. But I will come back to this one later so I can show you how we can, in the merchandise, I can start making some changes and apply rules to the widget that are displayed in the website. So if I will get back to my widget page, I would like to create another one. So I'll click on that widget again, and I will also like to get the search results widget in my site so we can test both. My Vue search results. I will give it an ID. I will keep default as the variation name. I would like also to use this one in the page. Okay, my Vue search results widget. And then again, I don't want styles. And that's it. We just created the second widget. And when it's created, you can also apply rules on top of it. But again, I will leave the rules part for later to play with the results. So the next step is to go out to our pages and add those widgets. So we have the default pages here, and I will be basically adding those to the home page. If I click my default variation, I click on select widgets, and then I can start searching for my widgets. So the first one I created is my recommendations. It's showing up here with the frag key 111. And the second one is search results, which is showing up here. Oh. So basically, as you can see, we just added two different widgets to our homepage. We have the My Vue Recommendations and My Vue Search Result widget. We save, and we're good. If we get back to the widgets, yeah, we can double check if those widgets are published, because of course, in order for the home page to render those, we need to get those published. As you can see, those are not published, so the status is still in draft. So let me publish this one together with the variation and the settings, and do the same with my search results. Great. So now we are done. We have our two widgets are assigned to the page. Now we can go to our Visual Studio Code and start adding those to our website. Now that we have already created our widgets in Sitecore Discover, we can start our implementation in the Vue.js app. So for this demo, I'm just using something that I found on the internet. In GitHub, it's just a basic store in Vue.js that it's giving some functionality like product cards. There's a product grid with the add to cart functionality and search. So I will give you the URL in case you want to use the same. And it looks like this. So it's enough for the demo because we want basically to start getting products from Discover. In that case, of course, this is getting those results from an API, but you get functionality. So we can implement event tracking and so on. So let's move on to the Visual Studio Code and start implementing those. So first, we need, as mentioned in the previous video, we need to authenticate and get the token from Discover. And for that, I will just using the hybrid approach. So basically, we need the Sitecore Discover data and core packages, so we can make a call to the setup and init. I already installed those npm packages up front to save a bit of time. And then again, we need only to add it here. So we make sure that we call the initialize Sitecore Discover, which is passing the keys that I already set up in my env variable, in my env file, sorry. And then it's going to call the setup with those to authenticate and to also generate the user ID. So this is done. Let me save and wait for Vue.js to compile. And then we can check in the tools of the site that we are getting authenticated and it's working as expected. Build is done. So let me refresh my site by opening also the DevTools and the Network tab. So you can see that now it's loading and I get my access token from Discover. If I check the payload, yeah, the scope, it's looking good. It's search recommendations. And I have my first event, that is the page view that it's triggered by default. So we are done. We can move on then to start making changes to the site. I will quickly explain here what I'm going to do. First, to change the data source of those products. So we switch from the API call that it's doing at the moment, and then we start using the widget that we just created. Then we're gonna add some events tracking on the add to cart. I would also like to add a product click, and then to track the status of the cart. Each time we are adding or removing products, it's also triggering events against Sitecore Discover. Because the idea is then to use some personalized results from Discover, as we already explained during the creation of the widget. And for that, Discover needs to know about the user tracking, right? So let's move on the next changes. Now we're ready to start implementing our widget or component from Discover into our Vue.js store demo site. So if we go to our app view file, you will see that there is a function here that it's making a call to the API where we retrieve the product. So let me remove this one and implement our code. So here I'm just setting the context with the URL of the home page, and then I'm triggering a track page view event where I'm sending the context again. And then this is fetch data. It's a method I just created to fetch data from Discover. So let me define the fetch data method here. I will add it after the add to cart. Here, I'm getting the user ID. So I send to the context the page URL and the user ID. Then I have the key phrase from the search box. I would like to get only max 12 products. And if you remember, our ID is 222. I will update it, and then the results are assigned to the products variable. I would like also, as mentioned before, to track the cart status. So let's make a quick change here and add the track status card event where we need to send the array of products and the context. And then, of course, for all this to work, we need to import our Discover packages, core and data, which I will add here. And access is not in it anymore because I'm not making call to the API. And something I would like to change here is also this filtered product because this is happening on client side and we don't want that. That means that here we don't, we change it for products variable, and that should be it for the app view. Now I'll make also some changes to the products view. First, we need to change the image URL property. And then I would like, I will add an anchor so I can also track the product clicks. So basically adding an anchor here, wrapping the image will be enough for kind of emulate the product click. So I'm adding this anchor here, wrapping the image. And then, of course, I need to implement the product click method. First, of course, I need to import the Discover packages and track the product click. I will add it after the add card. And here we only need to send the widget ID, which is 222. And then we need also some information that is required, like context and the product SKU. And then I'm also adding tracking in the add to cart, even if the product is already there and we are increasing the quantity, or if it's the first time we are adding the product to the basket. Both cases we need to send the array of products, the page type, and the context. That's enough. I will also make some changes to the navbar. Again, we need to update the image URL property. And then I would like to change it here because now there is a watcher, so it's making calls to the search each time we change the search bar, and this is not what we want. We want to avoid making that many calls to the API. So I'm gonna introduce this one here. So I'm only updating the results when we hit the enter button. So we need also to remove the watcher from here. And I need to add my update results method that will update the results. So we are done with the changes. Let's run npm serve and check the results in the website. Now it's built. So let's refresh our site. And now we should start getting products from Discover instead of the API. Let's have a quick look. Let's wait for it to refresh. And you see, we get now products from Discover. If we look at the network tab, let's check the network. fetch. And if, for example, I click on a product, I should be able to see my click event triggered with the context data together with the widget ID. Let's also add something to the cart, and this should actually trigger two different events. One is the add to cart, and the other one is a status that it gets updated in the cart. So this is the add to cart. We get the data here, in the context, and also the product, like the SKU, quantity, and price. And the other event, it's updated cart. If you look at this one and we check the products, we get 9 products with the SKU, quantity, and price. And this is because the cart is already full of products, as you can see here. And I will also test, for example, when we search for shampoo, we hit enter, and then I get my updated results. Now, to make sure that all the events are being tracked by Discover, I will use the event monitoring from Discover. So first thing I need to do is to grab my user ID that I will get from the network tab again. So let's, for example, click on a product, and this will give me the user ID. Here we go. So I'm copy this one, and then we go back to the customer engagement console. We go to developer resources, and there is an event monitor. In here, we can paste our user ID, start monitoring, and let's get back to our site. Close this one. So I will first go to my homepage and see how events are already starting to be monitored. What I'm expecting here is to get at least the page view and the search. So yeah, we get the page view, we get the search here because we are doing the first call to the search without any keyword. You can check the details. You can check the validation in case there is some issues with the event, which is not the case. And you also get other events like the car status because it's being checked all the time. So let's wait for the site to fully load, and then we can also test some other events. Let's, for example, click on a product, and we get back here and we get the click event, and we can check again. We can check the details all related to the context, to the user, and also to the product itself. If we add a product to the cart, again, it should trigger two different events. One is the cart status with all the different products, and also the add to cart event here. I'm going to implement now the other widget that we created, that is retrieving personalized results. That is the recommendation widget. So for that, let's get back to our Visual Studio Code and make the needed changes. So basically, I'm going to clone this component here to make it super simple. I'm gonna call it product recommendations or recommended products view, like that. And yeah, I would like to render kind of the same component. Let's add something here so we know which component we are looking. Let's call it recommended products. And then let's get back to our app view, and we basically duplicate the same. So we're gonna create a new one on top, and this one will be related products. Sorry, recommended products. Like that. So then I will add also recommended products. No, same way. here in the main.js component. So I'm going to import the one I just created. That's fine. And then we're going to use it here. So we have two components. Let's save it. We also need to give it a name. So the router works as expected. So I'm going to call it recommended products. And I will name it just products. Let me save it. So the same way we are doing for the products, I will do the same for the recommended products. And basically, I'm going to query the new or the other widget that we just created. So I will create another fetch data. Let me copy paste this one, and it's going to be just similar, but to retrieve from the other widget. So here, let's call fetch data recommended products. So this one, moving this one, it will be doing the same, like call to the API with the context. I don't want to have a query anymore because this is not really needed. The number of items, I think only 5 recommendations should be enough. And our ID, that was 111. And then to update our recommended products. Let me make this change here, and that should be fine. Let me save it. And of course, we need to make a call to the fetch data in the mountain. So here I'm going to do this fetch recommended products. Let me save it. And then if I refresh my page, so let's see now how our site looks now. As you can see, we get the recommendation products and the search results, while the recommendation products is using the widget that we create based on the recommendation, and the search is making use of the search widget. So as you can see, the recommended products is retrieving 5 different products. And you will ask why those are the recommended, because if you remember, when we created this widget, we used the recipe that it's basically retrieving personalized results based on the user tracked data. So this is because we already have a lot of interaction with this user in the site. As you can see, we already have 9 products in the basket, and we were clicking around to test the events. So this is what we are getting. But let me show you something. I will first clean my cookies. So to make sure that we are generating any user ID, we are cleaning all data. And then I'm expecting to get my my recommendations from default or by default. So let me refresh now the page, and you will see that the results should be different for the recommendations. So here we go. As you can see now, the results are different. And this is because we are starting from scratch. I mean, there's no track data. And actually, let's get back to the customer engagement console. Let's get back to the widgets section. And then we check the My View recommendations, which is the recommendation widget. And we select the default variant. And before we apply any rule, let's check what we get in the slots. So basically, you can see here we get those 5 different products, which is what we have here. And the reason is that those are by default. But let's now introduce a rule. So what I will say, you can use even site context or visitor context attributes. In the site, you can see brand, category, and a lot of more. From the visitor, you get country device, everything related to the visitor context. So I will just add a simple one. If the country is France, which is my case actually, let's make some changes. So I would like to remove this one that is pinned. So instead of pinned, I would like to get it personalized. And I would like to change this product here. I will add a random product like this one as number 5. And is, as you can see here, is pinned, meaning that it's not applying personalization and it will be always there as the last product. So let me save it. Let me publish the rule. And as soon as published, I will get back to my site. Yeah, it's published. Let's get back to our site and refresh. Now you can see that the results from the recommended products are different. And I'm getting my pinned product at the end. And I removed the first product as well that was before this kind of masquerade. So let's do the following to kind of force Discover to change the recommendations. I will search for shampoo, and then I will start clicking around. So I'm gonna click on all those products just to get the product click and to somehow interfere with Discover telling that I'm interested in shampoo. So I'm adding those to the cart as well. And now let me get back to the home page. You can see that I'm getting different results now. And actually, I get shampoos at the first place. Um, as as you can expect, this is because personalization now it's came into place. It's AI, and let's also have a look at the monitoring. Again, I will double check my user ID from Discover. For that, I'm going to my network tab. I'm going to click on a product just to trigger an event. And then I will grab my user ID. Here we go. I'm going to copy this. I will get back to the customer engagement console. And in the developer resources, there is also an AI monitor, which is really interesting. I will give you an idea of what is going on with AI. So we start monitoring. We get back to our site. I will just refresh the page. So then I'm gonna render the 2 widgets again. And in the meantime, let's open customer engagement console and see what we get after the page is loaded. As you can see here, we are getting the results, the search result widget, and you get also the percentage of the score. So it explains how this is getting those products, and same with my view recommendations. You can even export to JSON if you want to get more details. So that's really interesting. I mean, you can with both monitoring the AI and the events, you can get a real good understanding on how the components are working. Of course, you have analytics and reporting as well available in the customer engagement console that will help the merchandiser to make the best, to take the best decisions in terms of configuration of the widgets, the rules, the um, the recipes, and so on. So yeah, that's very much it. I hope you find it interesting. It helps you at least to understand a little bit how this code works. We cover the main topics. We cover how to create widgets, how to set it up in different pages, how to work with recipes and rules, also a little bit about events and AI, and also how easy it's actually to implement all those in our Vue.js application, for example. Thanks for watching.